My name is Giovanni Gracia.
My name is Mitch Walden.
My name is Krista Quedman.
My name is Abby Lewandowski.
And I'm Michaela Casey.
And the book that we read is Business as a Calling by Michael Novak.
Okay, so our author was Michael Novak, and he was born on September 9, 1933 in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. He's the author of more than 50 books. He's a philosopher and a theologian. He resides in Ava Maria, Florida. He used to live with his wife, Karen Novak, but she passed away recently, and she was a respected sculptor, printmaker, and a painter. He has 3 children, and one of his 3 children, Jada Novak, is sometimes his co-author.
The presidents of 3 nations, Czech Republic, Poland, and Slovakia, have given him the highest award they can give to any foreign citizen. He also received the prestigious Lincoln Literary Award, and his greatest honor is that Pope John Paul II has mentioned him in public as a saint. Novak's work has been effectively applied by a variety of world leaders from Eastern Europe to Latin America and from Beijing to London.
Okay, so the big picture of our book was Michael Novak's Business as a Calling discusses how important morality is in relation to the success of a business. He then goes into depth with this conclusion by stating 7 different responsibilities of enterprise as well as 7 more responsibilities of the business worker. The 7 responsibilities of enterprise are 1. Satisfying customers with goods and services of the real value. 2. Earning a reasonable return on the funds entrusted to the business corporation by its investors. 3. Creating new wealth. 4. Creating new jobs. 5. Defeating envy. 6. Promoting invention and ingenuity. And 7. Diversifying the interests of the republic.
The 7 moral responsibilities are 1. Establish a sense of community and respect within the firm. 2. Protect the political soil of liberty. 3. Exemplify respect for the law. 4. Practice social justice as a social virtue. 5. Communicate with investors, shareholders, pensioners, customers, and employees. 6. Make the surrounding community a better place. And 7. Protect the moral ecology of freedom. He then goes on to explain how we as individuals are creators and that the only free market economic system that allows individuals to fully unleash their creative energies and abilities for the good of all. Key concepts and ideas. Callings can be identified by 2 things: the God-given ability to do the job and enjoyment in doing it because of your desire to do it. There are 4 characteristics of a calling. 1. Calling is unique to each individual. 2. A calling requires certain preconditions, and it requires more than desire, it also requires talent. 3. A true calling reveals its presence by the empowerment and sense of renewed energies it practice yields us. And 4. They are not usually easy to discover, and many false paths are taken before the satisfying path is at last uncovered.
Morality matters in a business. It is not just an abstract list of do's and don'ts. Nations will always need a strong and highly skilled labor force with workers who are flexible, adaptive, and equal to rapidly changing market demands. The greatest transfers of one's private wealth in history is going to take place in the next 30 years, and a huge proportion will go to philanthropy. Philanthropy is the mother's milk of society. And an important quote I found in the book was that those whose calling is business do well to recognize early that more than they may at first recognize, this calling leads to giving and to the need to learn yet another civilizing art, the art of giving wisely.
He then goes on to say that studying business isn't always morally acceptable as other fields of study, as well as saying that those that are wealthier than others aren't always necessarily happier. Most who become wealthy continue to work and challenge themselves, and self-made people are often more happy than those who are born into wealth. The next section I covered pretty much just said that capitalism helps poor escape poverty, as well as capitalism being necessary for the success of democracy.
So the book goes into the term virtue very in depth, and it starts out by saying the term virtue used to just have one very simple meaning, and now it has a very well-rounded, very complex meaning. And businessmen and women in today's society need to be very well-rounded individuals. And a part of that is a businessman and woman's mind. You need to be in the right mindset to think very critically and have very good insight and judgment. Another topic that this section went over was ought versus want. And an example of this is you ought to stay at work late and finish your work, opposed to you wanting to go home and go to sleep or go see your family. And the final thing that my section covered was the word judgment. We need to have very good judgment as businessmen and women. We need to be smart with our decisions, and we need to make impactful decisions that will make our business be the best that it can be. And the next section that I had were the 3 cardinal virtues of business, and the first one was creativity. We have to be very creative with our business, how we market, how we operate, and we want to stand out from everyone else's business. That's our main goal, is to stand out and get customers into our doors. And the second cardinal virtue is building a community, and essentially this just means we should all work together as one, we should all be a big family, and we should all help each other. And the third is practical realism, and what this means is the art is business is the art of the real, and what that means is you need to have the right mindset to be in reality, and you need to make realistic decisions in how you run your business. You shouldn't set goals too high, and you shouldn't set too high standards.
So going back to the big picture of the book that Michael Novak gave us, there's also another 7 internal responsibilities for a corporation to go through. And one was to satisfy the customers with goods and services. And the rest are still the same from the big picture, but some that are really different are to create new jobs. And that's very important because this makes sure that the community is involved to create more of a healthy community. And another one is to defeat envy through generating upward mobility, which basically means that employees should know that they can someday be a manager or a CEO of a company and not just a lower level employee. And more 7 outside responsibilities for a corporation are to establish within the firm a sense of community and respect for the dignity of persons, which are the employees and customers, and to protect the political soil of liberty, to exemplify respect for the law, social justice, and another really key point that he went over was to communicate often and fully with their investors, shareholders, pensioners, customers, and employees, which basically means like don't hide from your community or within your community. So financial statements and all that. And 2 more are to contribute to making its own habitat and to protect the moral ecology of freedom. And more key concepts that Michael Novak went over was civil society, and there's 2 which are freely chosen or natural, and also the business corporation is a mediating structure that is a social institution larger than the individuals who make it up in the smaller states. And constructive engagement, the main justification for businesses opening operations in a totalitarian and authoritarian regimes. And sometimes constructive engagement can ask too little for corporations and sell short their true revolutionary power. And lastly, he went over morality, and honesty has costs. So are these costs worth paying for?
Michael Novak's Business as a Calling related a lot to our textbook. He talks a lot about how morals are directly related to business throughout his book, and our textbook discusses morals as well. Chapter 4 specifically is called Managing Ethics and Responsibility, and it deals with different frameworks of ethical decision making. There are 8 different approaches that all deal with morals in one way or another. The first one is the utilitarian approach. The second one is the individualism approach. The third one is the moral rights approach. The fourth one is the justice approach. The fifth one is the distributive justice. The sixth one is procedural justice. The seventh one is compensatory justice. The 8th one is practical approach.
We believe that everyone should take the chance to read this book. This book was a good book showing people what true ethics are and that every business person should give back to the community. We also enjoyed this book because it's easy to relate to everything that we have learned in this class. This book taught us to one day when we're all businessmen and women to give back to our community and live a morally responsible life. And these are our citations.